Ahlan wa sahlan mpenzi mtazamaji, asante sana kujumuika nasi. Leo hii ni kipindi cha bunge la wenyeji ambapo tutaangazia masuala ambayo yamekuwa kikithiri wiki nzima. Kuanzia wikendi mambo kadhaa yameweza kuchipuka, ikiwemo jinsi ya kuweza kuwakilisha semi za viongozi hapa nchini Kenya, na vile vile kupata uhalisia wa mambo jinsi ya tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka Iebc itakavyotekeleza kazi yake, wajibu wake hususan ni gani, na ikiwa basi ni tume huru, mambo ambayo inapaswa kuangaziwa ni kama gani. Vile vile tumekuwa tukishuhudia kwamba Rais William Ruto aliweza kumteua Ekuru kuweza kuwa mwenyekiti wa tume hiyo. Vile vile makamishna 6 waliweza pia kuweza kuteuliwa ili kuweza kusaidia Ekuru kuendeleza shughuli za Iebc. Masala kama yakiendelea kuibuka yanaibua hisia kwa wenyeji, ambapo sasa hivi wangependa kulisema angalau kuweza kuleta ripoti yao nyumbani, na wakiendelea kulisema hivi basi serikali inapata wajibu na kuweza kusuluhisha mambo fulani. Hivi majuzi pia tumeweza kushuhudia naibu wa rais Kithure Kindiki akitoa lecture kwake CS Public Service Geoffrey Kuru ama Geoffrey Alright. Akiweza kupiga lecture yake kwenye semi hizo ambazo zimeibua hisia tata. Mpenzi mtazamaji, kwa unajumuika nasi kwenye mara ya kwanza, hii ni bunge la wenyeji, na wenyeji hapa ambao wataweza kutusaidia kuweza kuchanganua 2-3 kuhusiana na tume hii ya uchaguzi ya Iebc na masuala mengine ambayo yamekuwa kichipuka. Lakini mwanzo kabisa, wiki hii pia ilikuwa inakaribisha siku ya wazazi wa jinsia ya kike, ambapo ni Happy Mother's Day. Bunge la wenyeji linaangazia pia taswira ya kina mama ambao wamejituma vile vile wawezavyo angalau kuweza kusaidia watu wengi kuweza kujitosa, na moja kati yao ni King Dantimax ambaye alipata nuru sana ya kuweza kulelewa na mama mzazi. Hongera kwa wakina mama wote ambao wamejukumika kwa njia moja au nyingine. Nafikiri pia wenyeji wangu mmeweza kupata ile uwezo wa kuweza kulelewa na kina mama. Hali imekuwaje? Namna gani? Habaria gani? Na wiki imekuwaje?
Nzuri sana. Nimeshukuru sana kujumuika katika bunge la wenyeji. Kwa majina ni Mugo Kevin, ambaye pia natumikia kama katibu mkuu katika bunge la vijana la East Africa. Na la muhimu sana pia mimi ni mwenyeji. Ningependa kuweza pia kushukuru na kuweza celebrate our mothers, those in our lives. Women are the pillar. I'm a product of a single mother, so I know the power of women when they choose to focus on their kids and what they can be able actually to do in the community. So happy Mother's Day to all women. We celebrate you and we will continue cherishing you, especially my mom.
Kabisa. Nimezungumza na uchungu sana. Karibu sana kiongozi. Tafadhali pia jitambulishe. Na vile vile pia kama wewe ni umepata pigo la mama.
Asante sana kwa kutualika hapa. Kwa majina ni Simon Boro kutoka Kikuyu constituency. Nitakuwa nikiwania kiti cha mbunge wa Kikuyu constituency. Wiki yangu imekuwa mzuri sana. Jana niliweza celebrate Mother's Day. Now I have a very good mom and I appreciate her and I love her, and ningetaka kushukuru Mungu kwa wamama wote katika hii nchi yetu ya Kenya na Afrika na pia dunia mzima. Sababu sisi wote hatungekuwa hapa kama si wao kuchukua hiyo nafasi ya kutulinda, kututunza.
Kabisa.
So we appreciate mothers. They're special to us.
Kabisa. Kando na hayo, tumekuwa pia na swala la kina mama kuweza kujitosa kwenye masuala ya siasa na masuala ya kuweza kuleta wenyeji kwenye hisia za uongozi. Na pia kina mama wanasema kwamba wanaweza kujituma na waweze kutoa uongozi bora kuliko hadi jinsia ya wanaume ambao wamejitosa kwenye uongozini. Pahali ambapo unasema kuhusiana na ile nguvu ya kina mama wapo nayo, unahisi kwamba pia wana nguvu zaidi kwenye masuala ya uongozi?
Wako na nguvu kina mama wako na capacity ya kuwa viongozi. There's no question about that. What I disagree is that they are better than men. I think we all contribute in a different way. Because even in science, men are interested in things and women are interested in people. So if women brought in in leadership, you can see that they're more interested in social investment, education, health. Sisi kama wanaume, si tunataka barabara, tunataka reli, tunataka port mpya. So we just need to strike that balance.
Okay. Ili kuweza kustrike your balance, kwa hivyo inaibua sasa swali la tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC, ambapo ni mwanamke mmoja tu hapo yupo pale, sivyo? So sivyo? Anderito peke yake ndiye ako pale kwenye makamishna 6.
Yeah, there's another woman.
There's another one?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, lakini kwa sasa kwa sasa yule ambaye najua ni mmoja. Hebu tuzungumzie, hata kama there's another one, of course there are two, the others are males. What would be your take on that?
We put in the constitution the tulieka ile two gender rule, to that gender rule, ili iweze kusaidia such scenarios. Lakini pia hatuwezi toa the fact that pia ambao umeuliza swali nzuri sana, kujitosa. Ni kina mama wangapi ambao wanaweza kujitosa katika ulingo huu kama ni huu wa uchaguzi wa IEBC, ni wangapi waliweza? Na of course kulikuwa na a lot of qualified women, and for I think for the team to settle on the two women, that is under Rito, and I can't remember the other one now, but it's something. I think pole tunaenda tukiongezeka, though we might need much of women representation, lakini pia as much as tunaangalia constitution na pia affirmative action, lazima pia tuangalie pia the will of people and the will of even women to come up and also produce themselves for such positions.
Alright, yeah, kuna mwingine anaitwa Mary Karen Sorbit. Asante sana kwa kunikumbusha. Lakini japokuwa hayo yote ni wawili bila shaka, sivyo? Kwa hivyo hao wengine wote, Hassan Nura Hassan, Francis Odhiambo, Dual and Fahima Arafat, Abdalla na Moses Muhwana, na vile vile pia hao sasa wanadada wawili, Anderito na Mary Karen, ni akina dada wawili. So mpigo wa kina mama kwa mambo kama haya ya uchaguzi na masuala ya uongozi yanahitaji pia kuwa na mvuto zaidi. Lakini halikadhalika, wacha tuingie sasa kwa story ya IEBC. Wewe unahisi kwamba IEBC ni tume huru?
Sidhani IEBC itakuwa tume huru. Kutoka wakati tulianza kuwa na vitu kama NADCO report, where political parties insisted that they want to be involved in the selection process of IEBC commissioners, I think the independence was lost then. Because now you have major political parties who want to dictate how the process of selecting the IEBC commissioners is going to go through. So it's not independent anymore, not to the very extent of the previous IEBC commissioners. So I don't think it's independent, but what I can say is we have a few by-elections that are coming up because of some members of parliament who have passed away, and also MCAs. So the litmus test is to see these new selected IEBC commissioners, how will they operate? And also just extend a little bit of trust and a little bit of hope that the process of the election will work. Yeah.
All right. So what makes you think that kuna hiyo kuwa na uhuru kwenye tume hii?
You see, for something or for someone to be independent, it means you have no ties to anyone. You have no ties to either the president, you don't have ties to a political party or the leader of the opposition. But majority of these people have ties to these particular people. So you lose an aspect of your independence. If we just tabled an advert and said we're looking for IEBC commissioners, and it was reserved to an independent body to do the selection process without the involvement of politicians, then I would have a little bit of trust and say, I think these guys are independent. But for now, I don't think they're independent.
Kabisa. Unajua pia kupata kazi ni kujuana, na pia lazima kuwe na hizo connections. Vile kiongozi anasema kuhusiana na hizo ties. When of course this space was offered, inafaa pia kukuwa na hiyo volunteering, that people want to volunteer in these spaces. But earlier on, of course, you remember the late Wafula Chebukati, IEBC chair, alipoaga dunia. Of course, we had we didn't have a space to accommodate that. There was no volunteering on the same. So do you think that we had just to make people come in for those spaces, and that is why there was a selection panel, and these people were chosen for specific reasons?
I think I'll start by saying, when we say we need to reset the government, we need to reset also our thinking as a people. As a nation, we need to have a mindset that prioritizes the needs of the nation first, rather than our own independent needs, including our own jobs. So it is wishful that maybe we can have volunteers. Tutakuwa na watu ambao wameweza kujitolea kufanya kazi na kutumikia wananchi kuhakikisha kwamba election inafanyika vizuri.
Mbona kujitokeza?
I'm sure walijitokeza, but even when it comes to the selection panel, when it comes to the selection process, the way it was designed itself, of course, ties will still play in place. What my hope, ile nitaweka hope yangu, because in real sense, we needed the Iebc as soon as yesterday. And right now it's there. My hope is, as much as we have the ties, the people who have been selected are going to be as independent as possible by that personal choice. Number two, when I look at the list of the selected members, I can see affiliations on different personalities. So I hope they will agree to disagree on the independence of the constitution. If one feels they want to favor the candidate, they should not be in a position whereby they should favor one specific area or one specific party. So that needs to come up with a choice, because at the end of the day, I think it's about time we move away from now the Iebc talk. There's a time we needed as a youth to read Iebc ready. There's some people we wanted to recall. We were not able to. There's the by-elections, like my colleague said, that needs actually to be done. For us to be able now to take the next step and move away from the favor, I feel, I'll choose to look at the positives, to look at the regional balance, well balanced regionally, and including the chair. I hope the chair keeps his word. I'll hold him accountable to what he said. At his age, it's a great age for him now to think about serving the country and not necessarily improving professionalism all by himself. So if that is the kind of thinking he will bring into the leadership of the Iebc, then we will hold him accountable either by one, seeing how he will gain trust with the by-elections, how we can now transition towards 2027, because it's just 2 years.
So connection really helps in achieving spaces.
We can't deny that for a fact. That one, this is an inch connection. That's why it's even hard for young people to grow. Because I also looked at that list, and if you look at the candidates who applied initially, even to come down, to continue, and even in kuna watu tuliona waliongezewa katikati in between. So of course calls were made, wasema wacha huyu jamaa ingie, but I hope as much as they are taking this particular duty, wacha connections ziishie the moment zimepigwa, and the focus becomes on the people. Focus becomes on delivering good results and good elections to the people of Kenya.
Okay, as you mentioned about the sneaking in of some names, I think we'll address that in the next few minutes. But also to consider that since 2023, tuko na electoral body kuweza administer all this, and when we are asking now, as the conversation is coming to now, in the road to 2027, there's more consideration towards this particular electoral body. So what will be your view since 2023 up to 2025? We are having this discussion.
I think there's been a lot of interference. A lot has happened in our country. One, the Gen Z protest, that threw the government off, and also threw the nation off. So we've been in a political space where everybody has been heightened. And now the selection process of the Iebc had to be negotiated between the two political parties, the ruling political party and the one in opposition. They had to agree on the selection process. And then selecting the panels, and then the panel advertising. So it's been a long process, and I hope in future it's not such a long process.
So do you think it's a good time that we're introducing this conversation?
Yes, I think it's a good time that we're introducing this conversation. But as my colleague said, I hope we are done with this conversation of Iebc commissioners. Right? that they now start getting things done, because we're 2 years to the general election. They have a lot to prepare for. And maybe before the general election, we're going to have a referendum. We never know, you know? We never know whether we can have a referendum before the general election and decide, let's shrink the size of the government. I would really advocate for that. So it's good that we have the Iebc commissioners. It opens up multiple doors of things that we might need to do.
Kabisa. Na kwa sababu wamekusha jitokeza, kumekuwa na hiyo the nominees, and of course you know them, the list you know them, you know now the chair. Once appointed of course by the parliament and really embracing now, this is what we'll work with. Do you think the voice of the people is heard in establishing all this?
The voice of the people, I don't think the voice of the people was involved in the selection process. It was more of a political conversation. But at the end of the day, we have to extend a little bit of trust that these individuals are men and women of integrity, and that they will uphold the spirit of the Constitution and even the oath that they take to safeguard the interest of the common mwananchi. That's all that we're hoping for. That's all that we're hoping for. Yeah.
All right. About the honesty now, we had of course Mr. Hassan that was sneaking, and a couple of times we've seen things arising and uproar arising and creating tension in whether the commission will be independent itself. Sasa tumeanza na kutuaminiana mapema as now. So wale ambao wapo sasa hivi, do you think we'll have a committed honesty in terms of service delivery?
Yangu itakuwa niite more of a clarion call to them. They need to understand the duty we have bestowed upon them. Is not the duty. It's okay if you are sneaked in, if it's okay you're texted, but the commitment that you made when you applied for that job, you need to realize that the hands of wenyeji, they're in your hands in regards to electoral processes. And not just electoral processes, even boundaries review and all the duties and responsibilities of the Iebc. Now, if they don't realize that and they don't have a shift in their mindset in regards to when you deliver the particular services they are going to do to Kenyans, then of course we're going to have trouble. But if they choose to be men and women of integrity, to focus on delivering their work truthfully, like and you know, with the patience of with the coat of arms in their heart and the blood and the flag of Kenya in their blood, then they'll be able to actually we will be shocked with what they can be able to do. But just like we are now assuming, because we don't want this conversation anymore, let's accept that they're there. And we wish them all the best, as they take up. I hope Parliament approves them, because this discussion has taken too long.
Of course, it will approve them.
I had the leader of majority say, "Iyo ishapita." So apparently, it's just it's a formality.
Indeed.
So let them do the formality as soon as possible. Put in signatures. We move on to the next step.
All right. Even as we picture on moving on, kuna sasa taswira ya kuweza kuhusika kwa Rais William Ruto kwenye masuala ya kuweza kuangazia picha kamili ya Iebc. Kwa upande wako, msimamo wa rais kuhusiana na hii uteuzi, kuchagua na pia kuweza kumteua Ekuru kwa mwenyekiti wa Iebc inaleta taswira gani kuhusiana na nafasi ya rais kwenye tume hii?
Kwa hiyo jambo, unajua rais, as per the constitution, it is his mandate to actually appoint. Or he's at the end of the food chain, right? Or the appointment chain. So one thing that I like is that Mr. Erastus, now the incoming Iebc chair, does not come from any major tribe. So nobody should make any noise about mtu wetu. It's not mtu wetu anymore. He's come from a minority community, and that's in Turkana. So that isolates the need for any tribe to come and say, "Oh, this is our person, so you have to make this decision this way."
Indeed.
So that I love the way that decision was made. So so that it eliminates that need for that tribal perspective to kick in. But I guess the only thing that we can do is just hope and trust that the IEBC chair will do his job.
It's not a strategy that they're getting a leader from the minor community?
I don't think it's a strategy. Yes, I think it was a strategy. Take somebody from a minority community so that one ukichagua a person from Mount Kenya, it will be seen
chaos.
This is leaning somewhere. Ukichagua someone from Rift Valley, it will be seen as we're leaning towards a certain position. But if we select somebody from a minority community, you're like, okay, sawa, this one, there's no bias here, so let him continue with his job.
Indeed. So selecting a chair from the minor community and having the commissioners from different communities. Of course, I saw Kisumu is also involved, and also some places in Lamu and Nyandarua. So all those areas were represented. There's also the Mandera areas. So I believe many of the areas were represented. So from where you sit, this is a tribal strategy to really calm things down, ndio kusikuwe na pupa ya kuweza kusema.
Actually, on that point, the selection panel did a very good job. That the IBC that was selected has clearly a face of Kenya. Okay. And that is the way now to go forward when it comes to even appointments. Indeed. When it comes to the way we are allocating our resources, when it comes to the way there's one thing I will maybe push in future. We also consider vijana. We also consider youths included in that particular. But with these baby steps being made, actually I can sit back and say, for once, when you look at that face, you can see the face of Kenya. Actually, that this is actually Kenya represented. So that ikikuja, because also we still have, as a people, we have ile mtu wetu mentality. Now this one becomes like a bit difficult. Kusema, okay, so kama mtu wenyu alifanya hivi, then mtu wao mwingine aliingilia katikati. So it creates sort of a balance. The selection panel there did a very good job on that. It really tried to balance the allocations. And I hope they will remain as balanced and as even in their endeavors, they will continue remaining as balanced even in the way they'll be running the operations, both at the office and also in coming to the general elections and whatever is happening in between.
All right. Mawaziri wanasema kwamba wataweza kupendekeza majina tayari yamekwisha pita na vile vile lolote litakalofanyika, majina haya tayari yamekwisha sanifishwa kote, lakini bado kuna uhasama wakati ambapo mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka anaonekana ni kama kuna uzushi kuhusiana na majina yaliyopendekezwa na majina haya yote. Wewe kwa msimamo wako, tukimaliza awamu ya kwanza, unahisi kwamba bado kuna tatizo ama changamoto kwenye tume hii, japokuwa hata tunafanya harakati za kuweza kulainisha tume huru?
You know, Kalonzo Musyoka is in a very interesting position because he was part of Raila's Azimio. Now Raila is part of Ruto's team. Indeed. So that makes Kalonzo Musyoka is out in the cold. So of course he's going to make noise, and you know he's going to make noise and say that as the opposition, because now he's acting as the opposition, that they were never consulted in the selection process of the IEBC commissioners. But I think it's neither here or there. It was just a talking point for him. And now the only thing that we can focus on is everybody does his job. The IEBC commissioners do their job. If you're in the opposition, you present your manifesto to the people if you want to capture the seat of the presidency. And for the president, he does his job. And when it comes to 2027, people decide whether he's going to go home or whether he's going to get another 5 years.
All right.
So of course, maybe to add on that,
if you're adding on that on the same, the submission, observer says that ilipitishwa tu kwa rais peke yake.
Sorry?
The submission, observer says that the names were submitted to the president only.
Oh, okay.
I think also it's because Kalonzo feels like he's shortchanged from the NADCO report, because don't forget he was the co-chair of the NADCO committee that actually came up with the NADCO report. Indeed. And when Raila now moves and joins government, Kenya Kwanza side will say we consulted Raila, who keeps saying he's not in government, so he's still in opposition. And at that particular time when NADCO report was being discussed, then Kalonzo who now is purely opposition, was part of Azimio. I think by the time NADCO report was actually coming out, our particular point then, even Azimio, even Wiper had not officially left Azimio. That is why he was in that particular position as the co-chair. Right. So technically, when we say that the president or the Kenya Kwanza team in this particular case consolidated itself, utaona wataruka, watasema we consulted Raila, indeed, who is Azimio, who presented the NADCO report. And that is why I remember I saw the problem with that NADCO report at that particular time. You cannot come and say we are doing a report on how to fix the elections of Kenya, indeed, with only 3 parties. Indeed. That was very wrong. Then you invite the rest as to submit reports. Okay. If it would have been a bit inclusive, then whatever report came from NADCO, then would have committed the president now, or the Kenya Kwanza team at this particular point now to consult every other political party. But when you locked it up between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, not even forgetting the young people who were in the streets at that particular time, that it became their affair. So whatever happens in between their affair, hiyo sasa sisi watu wache sasa wapambane na hali yao hapo.
Kabisa. Tuko tu mbele ya bunge na vile vile pia masuala ambayo zimeangaziwa kutoka sasa na fikiri zimesikika. Usiende mbali, hii ni bunge la wenyeji. Tena unatazama bunge la wenyeji kwenye runinga ya Lookup. Vile vile hapo awali tulikuwa tumezungumzia swala la tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka Iebc, na vile vile pia tukaweza kugandia swala ambalo wengi wangependa kulisikia sasa hivi, ambapo baadhi ya viongozi wengi wanasema masuala mbalimbali, wanazungumza kwenye jukwaa na kwenye ukumbi mbalimbali. Hivi majuzi pia nakumbuka Rais William Ruto aliweza kutoa maoni akazungumza, lakini bahati mbaya pale eneo la Migori sijui ghasia ilitokea namna gani, na sijui ilikuwa kupunguza semi ama kulikuwa namna gani, ambapo kiatu kikarushwa na maybe wa Kenya walikuwa wamechoka na kuweza kusikiza sana. Vile vile mpenzi mtazamaji, tukizungumzia sasa semi za viongozi kwenye ukumbi, ni mambo kama gani wanapaswa kuweza kuiangazia angalau wenyeji wapate kibali cha kusikiliza. Na tunapoendelea na mambo kama haya, tulikuwa tunamalizia tu mazungumzo ya tume huru na mipaka Iebc. Kwa hivyo kufikia sasa, do you think that we have a stable ground, of course, as the commission is concerned?
No, they have a lot of work to do. They let them not think that it is easy. Let them go in there, let them take up this particular position with the mentality that it's not going to be easy. Okay. And the mentality that Kenyans still need to earn that particular, we need to earn their trust. Right. So they need to consider a lot on reaching out to the people, reaching out to the common voters, building trust, and ensuring that at least by the time 2027 inafika, watakuwa me streamline kidogo, kukuwe na a bit of trust, and the best opportunity watakuwa nayo ni these by elections, and I'm sure all Kenyans, all eyes will be on this particular by elections, kuangalia ni vipi wataweza ku manage this particular elections.
Road to 2027 is nearing, right? Of course unajua umekuwa kiongozi na pia umewania kiti vile vile, ile katika hali ya kujitayarisha na kujua kwamba Iebc ipo pale kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba mnasonga vizuri. Vigezo halisi vya kuweza kujitayarisha kwa mwaka wa 2027 kufikia sasa mahali tuko kama taifa, unahisi kwamba we are heading in the right way as far as these elections is concerned, ama tunasubiria tu ghasia?
I think as far as the Iebc is concerned, I think we are headed in the right direction.
Okay.
All I want to see is the kind of work that they're going to do in the coming days or in the coming months with the by-elections. Okay. I think that is going to create a little bit of trust on the commissioners themselves, or on the Kenyan citizens. And then after that, hit the ground running and start preparing for the 2027 general election. The sad thing is Kenya has a very expensive general election. We need to make it a little bit affordable. Okay. But all I expect is a good job from the commissioners. Yeah.
So acha nikuulize hii, unaona kama Rais William Ruto atachukua tena kiti 2027?
No. It is impossible for William. I say this with a very firm mind. It is impossible for William Samoei Ruto to get 50+1 votes in this country. Okay. It is impossible. He's lost the people. He's lost the people. And he's not going to be able to gain back the trust because of a few political miscalculations. Political miscalculation number one is allowing the Gen Z protest to actually materialize. He would have heard the complaints from the common mwananchi and decided to put aside the finance bill. Miscalculation number two is the impeachment of Gachagua. He should have stayed with Gachagua all through. Now he has a very strong opposition and somebody who's coming out and he's bold and saying, yo, we need to get rid of you. So, and then you see certain things happen, like somebody throwing a shoe. Of course, the clips that came out showed that it was accidental, but the fact remains a shoe was thrown at the president, you know. So I don't think he's going to win with 50+1 vote. Yeah.
So accidentally a shoe was thrown?
Yeah, accidentally. Yeah, from a different angle.
So it's sending a message? Yeah,
it's sending a message. Now, the sad thing would be, and I hope we don't get here, the one thing that breaks my heart is that now, over the last couple of years, the presidency of this country has the respect that we afforded the presidency has been eroded over time. If you see a citizen take a shoe and throw it at a president, that means the person who's seated at that seat has essentially eroded every single little bit of respect and trust that Kenyans had on it. And if you ask Kenyans on Twitter actually came out and voted for the president to be the most corrupt president worldwide. Your own people are voting for you to be, you know, registered as the most corrupt leader in the world. So the person seated at the seat, and that is William Samoei Ruto, has eroded the respect and the honor that was afforded to the presidency.
Indeed.
And now we need to get somebody new, somebody fresh, who will at least gain back the trust, gain back the respect that was afforded to the presidential seat.
All right, speaking about the respect, now we are coming to the conversation on statements that are being made on altars, on stages, on spaces, that they are representing people and they're speaking to people. The reason, of course, in question is the statements that Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President, made on Sunday in regards to CSPS, of course, Geoffrey, in really understanding and shaping the environments where his locations are, and in establishing a better environment for the people. But later on, the DP felt mad.
I think the Deputy President should have handled that better, rather than to rant out to rant out in public. And especially in that case, both of them coming from the Meru community, and the meeting they were in, they were talking to elders. You know, it could have been done off cameras and off the stage. So that would have been a better picture. But I think also the Deputy President needs to understand that he is the Deputy President. Ruku just joined in recently as the CS for Public Service. He is an MP, and from my opinion, I know the appointment of Ruku was rushed to replace the one for the Attorney General. So technically, Ruku still has got his mind touched on being an MP, and in that case, he was doing his role as an MP more than as a CS.
So he was wrong? Was he wrong?
Technically, Kindiki was right to say that he has the power to push the road, but he was not wrong as a leader to speak up for your people. It brings down to the same discussion of the previous owner of that particular position, that is the former AG. Was it wrong for AG to speak as a father? Same case. Was it wrong for Ruku to speak as a leader of the people? He knows there's a problem with that particular road. Probably when he was MP, probably, not sure, he had tried to push for that particular road. He wanted the Deputy President, and I've seen it several, not just even at Ruku, I've seen in several places where the Deputy President even requests the President to allow, because of course the Deputy President is more senior than the CS. So if you say we are going to lobby with you this particular road, and you are the chair for the implementation committee in cabinet. So technically it was misplaced. Then maybe there's something happening that you have not yet seen. Maybe it's a white smoke, Camilla Pope, that is coming, that maybe will show us something eventually what is happening, because it just doesn't come out from nowhere. And considering they come from the same region, something is up from that particular area.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, it's not the smoky baba. Okay. So DP says that Ruku was inciting the public, and really that could have been handled better. Maybe he would have told the DP before even they stepped to that podium. So what do you think? Were the statements that Ruku made in regards to helping the people in that particular area insightful?
I don't think the statements were insightful. I think, one, what I can see from that whole situation is that the Kenya Kwanza government is on fire, and there's massive miscommunication among them. Because if I was the deputy president, I would have handled that situation with a little bit more candor. You know, you accept there's a road that needs to be tarmacked, all right? And you tell the people, I have recognized that there's a need here. I'm going to sit down with my leaders and we're going to see how we're going to fix this problem. Okay. That was a better statement than, you know, dressing down somebody who's been appointed for a senior position, who comes from your region. I think the deputy president is desperately wanting to show strength because he's been mocked severally by people around him and those in opposition that he's a puppet. And also some of the statements that he's made. He said that sisi ni watu wa yes sir. I'm like, don't you have a mind of your own? You know, to critique the government when it's making a wrong decision, like the former AG did. You know, he critiqued the government like, what we're doing is wrong. And we need men who can stand by what is true and what is right and what is just in these positions. That when the president says something wrong, you say, okay, at this particular point, I disagree with you. We shouldn't do this. But if you're all yes men and yes women around him, if he's making something, if he's making a wrong decision, he's going to, you know, tear down this country.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. As you speak about that, there's also a concern on the former DP, Rigathi Gachagua, and is making so bold statements to the government and really embracing that the government needs to change. What will be your taking stand as far as his impeachment was concerned?
Of course, we've seen the courts say the impeachment did not follow the due process. We said that at that particular time. We all could see that.
Indeed.
And we could see that, okay, this was a hurried move.
Of course.
What have not been sold yet is the fact that the deputy president is the leader we need to have at this particular point. And it played out very well when I saw the opposition leaders have a meeting when Matiang'i came back. And I looked at the whole clique. And well, everyone is saying how young people are important and how we are the future of this particular country. They still doing their meetings indoors, meaning at what particular point, without involving giving young people a place at that particular table. So at what particular point then will we make this discussion about generally the country? So with the remarks the DP has made, of course right now he's doing a lot of favor to the critics of the government, and of course the government itself is not doing itself justice by not communicating enough. So when and DP, you will, is a student of Moi. If you look at this, when he was a DC, it was Moi who picked him up and even made him linking up to Uhuru. So that and so some of the moves that Ruto might know, some of the moves that he knows, some of the moves that the former President Uhuru knows, come from the professor of politics himself. So he knows this is the best time to target and to hit in every particular thing. But one thing I need, and this one is across. There's all leaders who are now making remarks. Let's not forget. Let's differentiate where the country is and the need for politics. For heaven's sake, we have done politics since 2022. Constantly.
Indeed.
At what point will we now serve? If it's opposition, at what point will we keep the government in check? At what point will we say, now, my work as an opposition leader is not just to say no to everything,
Indeed.
but also to say, okay, this one works, but let's correct here and here and here.
Indeed.
But if we keep our mind with remarks, we are seeing right now, I've seen the Kenya Kwanza team doing, I don't know what they're calling it, bottom-up transformation around Kiambu. And technically we know that's just wasting taxpayers' money. I want to know, and I want anyone from Kiambu to tell me, from these particular constituencies, who has been receiving these monies. They say they're giving Mamboga and Circles, but it is purely a platform to try and sell the government. That is not, when we say we want the government to communicate, that is not what we mean. We don't want politics. We want people to step up and actually do their particular jobs, both in the opposition. And this plays out because even us as the people, we have chosen a lot of politicians instead of leaders. So when you choose a politician, technically they will always politic. There's no time they will ever sit down and actually do the work that we sent them to do in that particular parliament, in that particular government, or in that opposition. Because even opposition, it's still a delivery. You are still a leader. You have millions of Kenya who expect you to keep the government in check and to ensure everything is running smoothly, not just to point a finger. Yeah.
All right. On Sunday, the hitman, of course, suspect to the murder of Kasipul MP Were was caught heading to Tanzania. but earlier on, the conversation on the death of MP Were brought an uproar right here in the Republic. There was a statement that was made in the Parliament that we mourn and move on. But it seems that we've not moved on. So this statement made directly to the Republic, brings a different attention and a different thought towards how the leaders view things and views the public. Also, in your mind, remember that this investigation is being steadfast, teke tumalizane now isonge.
Yeah.
But also the conversation comes in when we were speaking about the deaths of the Gen Zs in the protest, which many of the deaths were not investigated. So remember also the conversation on the bodies that are found in that area, Vayala.
Yeah.
So it seems that the investigation was halted. So what will be your take on that? So from this moving on, I think we should be moving on to investigation.
All right. Okay. One, I listened to different members of parliament when the BBC documentary came out. I listened to different members of parliament, and it was sad to even listen to the reasoning and the thinking of our elected officials who are supposed to represent us. Because during the Gen Z protest, young men and women died, all right? Young men and women died, but we did not see any remorse, any remorse from the president. We did not see any remorse from the member of parliament. When you say people die, we mourn and move on, it's very rude. First of all, acknowledge that this is somebody's son.
Indeed.
Who was shot by a police officer in the confines of Parliament. Okay. All right? Now, Parliament should have moved to investigate was the force justified to open live fire on protesters. All right? Can we investigate the conduct of these police officers? All right? Till fruition, all right? We needed to see a few heads roll in the security service. But what I've come to recognize is that all right, our security officers have what we call Mkubwa syndrome. That if you're not in government, if you're not an elected official, we will not serve you.
Indeed.
But if you are a member of parliament, a senator, a women rep, if you're an elected official, you will have our utmost attention. All right? And you can see that even in traffic. Indeed. You can see an elected member of parliament, flaunt traffic rules. They will not be stopped. They will not be fined. Indeed. But if an ordinary citizen attempts to do such a thing, they're met with the full force of the law. Indeed. So there's Mkubwa syndrome that has captured our security officers. Indeed. And we need to get rid of it. And the one way to get rid of it is to insulate the police force from the politics of the day. Indeed. That means we need a civilian-led police force. Okay. For us to have a civilian-led police force, we need to have commissioners in the National Police Service Commission, we need to have civilians there.
Really?
We need to have representatives from the LSK, all right? Representatives from the youth, representatives from the religious council, so that when something like the Gen Z protest, the opening of live fire on protesters happens, we now have civilians who will come and investigate and bring the police officers to account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imenikumbusha historia ya Were, imenikumbusha wakati ambapo tunazungumzia sasa NGCDF kwamba matanga tu yake iligharimu pesa mingi sana, which of course taxpayers money that was spent. So what will be your view on history sasa ya NGCDF? Hii pesa watu wanatoa ya tax.
You know, we have to separate powers. That's something, and it also boils down to what you've just talked about here, the Mkubwa syndrome, that MPs are currently doing public participation, sponsored by them, and then call it public participation, where as an MP I go to my constituency, I mobilize people, I tell people NGCF, so NGCDF inakupiaga basari, so NGCDF inakujenganga nyumba. Yet Kenyans need to understand that whether the MP has NGCDF or not, you will still get that bursary if it's there.
Indeed.
You will still get that school built. You will still get that, what do you call it, police station built. From my constituency where I come from, wanasema wameka mpaka computers kwa police station. You will still get that. What we are asking is, can we allow the MP to go back to parliament?
Indeed. And
MPs don't want to hear that story. They have gone ahead and even roped in their fellow members, now the Senate. Now wamepatia Senate oversight. What one do you need to oversight in a country that is struggling?
Indeed.
When we are saying we are cutting costs, we are here with the rest of the young people trying to say, number one, you're earning too much.
Indeed.
700,000 is too much money for you. Then now you're collecting too much in NGCDF. You go to places like Mandera, you go to places like, especially in Northeastern, you wonder, okay, so these people get the same CDF as some other places. There are no schools. Why? Because you're bringing the responsibility of public money, of taxpayers' money to an individual. And this individual will ask them to the people who are voting for them. People, it's being used as a political tool, and MPs have refused to accept that, because most MPs know, and this one I'll say this for a fact, if we remove CDF, you will not be able to perform as a leader. Because why? They have believed my work as a leader is for me now to come with handouts. And I'm not coming now with handouts through 200 shillings, 500 shillings. It's also a measure fashion. Squeezy, because people are a bit educated, wanna come now through bursaries, through schools, wanna come now through implementation. Whilst we appreciate the good work CDF is doing, and for those of us who are opposing it, we're not fighting CDF. We are fighting the person who's supposed to oversight it, actually being the one implementing it. That is where the issue is. But if we remain this NGCDF to have its own function with the National Secretariat running it itself, and the MP goes back to oversight, the MPs now will remember his work as an MP, which is number one, to make laws. Number two, to keep to oversight government. And hii kitu ingine ati now MPs have been given, at this particular point, MPs have been given recess. And why are they on recess? To go and mobilize for NGCDF. Then those are the moves we will keep making wrong as a country, and we will not proceed. So I think coming back now to your question on MP Weres, I think he deserved, he was a national leader, as much as we can see people from some of his people in his neighborhood didn't like him. He deserved, of course, the barrel in his office. We respect the office as an MP, so he deserves that. But when it comes to taxpayers' money, let's not make it. And you know, they will tell us, I'm just a patron. I'm not implementing. But when you look at those NGCDF boards, we did a rough checkup. If you take out of 10 in every particular constituency or in every particular county, you will find of the 5 representatives of a particular board either ule mobilizer number 1 wa MP, ule mama wa kupiga kelele sana. So it's just the MP running it in the name of hiding I'm a patron.
All right. Do you think that the CDF is unconstitutional, and does it make sense to really embrace change kwa different constituents?
I think we should really try to reduce the amount of things that we politicize.
Indeed.
Number one is education. Kenya can have absolutely free primary and secondary school education because we have the resources to do so.
It's a nearly change kind.
Right?
Yeah.
We have the resources to do so. Now, and the CDF fund, NGCDF, was a good start, but we need to go to the next level. The next level is pulling all these funds, all right, giving them to one body and distributing them to schools. So let's say we have a school in a corner of Kikuyu constituency, okay? We award you 5 million Kenya shillings. In that school, there's a parent-teachers association, right? Parents Teachers Committee. They sit down and say, okay, we've been given 5 million Kenya shillings by the government. Which classes do we start upgrading? So now the resources are within the school, and the parents who have children within the school are involved in the process of actually building up the school.
Indeed.
We do not need members of parliament to come and tell people, line up, all right, I give you bursaries, and then you start calling out names one by one, all right? We need Kenya to have absolutely free primary and secondary school education, just like they have it in other countries, okay? So we need to really rethink this thing for NGCDF.
Okay. Bila shaka sina semi nyingine. I think the statements are so bold that nikianza kukoa hapa. All right. So even as we wind up this session, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that at the end of the tunnel, we'll be making a positive change and positive impact to the heart of the community and the society. Wenyeji wamelisema, wamelizungumzia, kwa hivyo ni mujibu wetu wa kuweza kulainisha anga zote za hapa nchini Kenya, both politically, socially and economically, to get a better environment for all of us. Now, the 2027 road is still here. So we're expecting so much positivity and of course sense of transparency towards all this. So see you next week, even as we highlight the basis on all this. And by the way, before the week ends, we believe we'll have a betterment towards every engagement that we have right here on Bunge la Wenyeji. Ndio tukihostawa tunaongea kizungu sana, so sijui kama tunawa confuse, lakini I believe you are there listening to transparency, honesty and trust. So ladies and gentlemen, hii imekuwa ni awamu ya Bunge la Wenyeji, na kwa mara ya kwanza basi tutaweza kuyaangazia na kuganga na Kenya kufanya haya mambo yapate kujulikana. Jina langu ni Moses Sketch, mwelekezi King Dante Max.